there was only one person to blame. And that person was me.
If my mansplaining is triggering you, you can either fuck off to your safe space or you can engage and debate me and tell me what I'm getting wrong. But being offended doesn't work anymore. Throwing insults doesn't work anymore.
Are not the father. That cheering you did? What you cheering? I'm a single mother with nobody that loves me or my child. What you cheering for? This is this baby's life. And I asked you, where's this other man? I don't know.
Every 13 seconds, someone in America gets divorced.
I don't have a home. I don't have a car. I didn't eat yesterday. I had to borrow these clothes. She took it all!
And I am responsible for everything that happens. Everything.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever the channel may be finding you. I am your host, Race Bannon. Today's topic, marriage license versus a marriage certificate. You know, there is a great deal of the American population that believe these two documents, marriage license and a marriage certificate, because they look very similar in kind, that they are in fact one document in itself. Well, I wouldn't bet my assets on that, my friend. In fact, those two documents have monumental differences with completely different ramifications. And if you're one of the small percentage of American males who still have a strong desire to become married, it is imperative you know the difference between those two documents. I'm not here to crush your desire to become married. I'm sure you've weighed out the risk versus the reward and you're going for it. I got it, do it. My goal here today is to educate you. My goal here today is to give you enough knowledge with enough wisdom, and hopefully we can stimulate your critical thinking skills, because critical thinking hasn't been taught in the American public school system in decades. So be open enough to hear a little knowledge mixed with some wisdom, so you'll be able to make a most informative decision that will best benefit you with your life moving forward. The best way for me to do this is to provide a brief history lesson for you. And here we go. Most Americans do not know that tens of millions of Americans before them exercised their unalienable right to become married and lawfully became married without ever obtaining a marriage license. They only had a marriage certificate. In fact, there was a prominent attorney who became president. Maybe you've heard of the guy Abraham Lincoln. He too exercised his unalienable right and lawfully became married without ever obtaining a marriage license. So I ask you, do you have an unalienable right to become married without obtaining a marriage license? While you're pondering that, let's fast forward to the 1920s. In the 1920s, all states of the Union passed some type of miscegenation laws. These were laws barring interracial couples from becoming married, unless they gave complete jurisdiction to government workers. And when I say complete, I mean everything born out of that marriage. That includes property, that includes money, and that includes your children. And what was the nexus to give the state the jurisdiction? What was that new tool called? Yes, a marriage license. So let's be clear in common street vernacular what a license is. In essence, you are begging a government worker for a permission slip to participate in a privileged activity that without that permission slip, said activity would be deemed illegal. So I ask you, do you have the unalienable right to be married, or are you participating in a privileged activity? Now, while you're also pondering that, let's fast forward to today. All the miscegenation laws have been wiped clean off the books. However, the marriage license doctrine is still intact. A three-party contract with the state being the superior party to the contract. It is not stated there in that marriage license. You won't see it, but it's there. You have to know the doctrines behind it. As a judge told me decades ago, Ignorance of the law is no excuse, young man. And that judge was spot on. You have to know the law as it pertains to this situation. You have to have some red pill awareness. Do you want to give a government worker complete jurisdiction over your marriage? That means money, property, your children, and you're giving government workers complete jurisdiction if that marriage ends in divorce. So I ask you, do you want to be free, obtain a marriage certificate, and be married in front of your God where the state has no jurisdiction? Or do you want to give the state complete jurisdiction and obtain a marriage license? Look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you capable of being free? Or are you mentally institutionalized? There was a great movie back in the mid-1990s, I believe, and that movie was called Shawshank Redemption. In that movie, an inmate who had been incarcerated for, 30, maybe 40 years, was finally set free. And in a short time, he ended up committing suicide. He hung himself because he had become institutionalized and couldn't handle freedom. Yes, he was physically institutionalized, but he was also mentally institutionalized. So I ask you, are you capable of living free, or are you mentally institutionalized? There is a condition, and I use that word rather loosely and for the lack of a better one, but the condition is identity protective cognition. To me, it's just old-fashioned, mentally institutionalized. But identity protective cognition is the theory that when a person who has that is confronted or given the truth, given empirical data that contradicts their long-held belief, and that belief is found to be false, that person with identity protective cognition will double down on their false belief, will fight you tooth and nail, will argue with you to sustain their false belief. To me, it's so bizarre. To me, they're mentally institutionalized into a false belief and they can't handle the truth. Becoming red pill awareness is that you can see that and you're no longer mentally institutionalized into a false belief. There's a quote from a Clint Eastwood movie in one of his Man with No Name films, and I believe that movie is High Plains Drifter. Anyway, in this movie, he is getting dressed, and the woman tells him to be careful because he makes people afraid. And the Man with No Name retorts with, "It's what a man knows about himself that makes him afraid." It's what a man knows about himself that makes him afraid. How true is that? So the day may or may not come where your lady insists on marrying you with a marriage license. Will your critical thinking skills kick in? Because this is going to be one of the most significant red pill moments in your life. Will you submit and give jurisdiction over your entire marriage, including the divorce, if it should happen, to government workers? Are you going to suffer from identity protective cognition? Are you going to be so mentally institutionalized where you're going to compromise your beliefs? There's an old adage, death by 1,000 cuts. Well, when it comes to relationships, it's death by 1,000 compromises. And who generally does all the compromising? You guessed it, men do. So this is a red pill moment, and I cannot tell you what to do. I cannot tell you what to say. I would tell you what I would do, what I would say. If my lady insisted on only marrying me with a marriage license, I would look at her and calmly say something to the effect of, "Honey, I love you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. But this marriage license thing does not work for me. If you change your mind, let me know. Otherwise, I wish you the best in life." Then I would turn around, walk away without looking back and with no regrets. Well, guys, there's the end of the show music. Time for me to wrap it up. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please leave your comments down below. Also, give me a comment or two on my new microphone. I need to know if you're hearing it crystal clear or if I need to tweak a few things. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and, of course, smash that notification bell, as the cool kids would say. Hey, do you live within the United States of America? Would you like an autographed copy of my book, Stop the Pussification of America? Well, if you do, it's yours with a $20 donation or more, and that would include free shipping. Again, guys, this offer is only good for those within the United States of America. All others, you're welcome to purchase the book. See the Amazon link down below. If you'd like to sponsor a topic, see the link down below as well. And guys, I'm going to leave you with some motorcycle traveling footage. Yes, I do ride motorcycles, and it's one of the many ways I unclutter my mind to keep me sane and give my mind some clarity. Remember, guys, you have one life to live. Make it a memorable adventure. Until next time, be safe. I am Race Bannon, and I'm out.